There's a question in the chat that's so hard to answer. They're asking about admission in the schools. AD Koch 17 said many colleges, universities have rescinded offers of admissions for students with racist, prejudiced comments on social media. Do you think that's the right thing to do? Part of me wants to say, like, yeah, like they're allowed to do what they want. Then it would be kind of counterproductive to what I said earlier about allowing people the room to change. I think it's a little bit different in the moment, but I think it's tough. I don't think you want to allow your students to be exposed to kind of thinking like the other students, but this is a thing, right? If you're gonna comfortably put out a message to the public world at that moment, and then at the same time you're gonna seek employment or education enrollment in schools, then you got to live with the consequences. I don't fault schools for not accepting those students, because that's just toxic behavior, toxic mentality. It's ignorance and it's hatred that you're sharing across media platforms. So I don't agree with it. And I think schools should withdraw admissions to those kids. What do you guys think about that?
On that point, I went to USC, and last year, the people who were supposed to be student government presidents, they were elected after all the protests. People found these chats they had where they had said racist comments and shared them, and so they were like removed from office before the year started and all of this. And like, I agree with you where it's like, of course, people putting out that behavior that is so toxic and just seems unfathomable should have consequences. But then I do just wonder, like, what happens to those people? Like, right, they shouldn't be in leadership positions and whatnot, but it's like if they're trying to get an education or whatever, it's just like, what should happen?
That's super true. And Jay Boone's SPP said that in the chat. Schools have this right to rescind admission to anyone they like, and using that more as a teachable point to people who haven't been held to any responsibility for their actions in the past. If you're going to act like that, you're not coming to our school. And there's this balance of, do you have to have people of color be willing to accept these people into their institutions, to sit next to them in class, and the university is okay with that? It's a tough question.
It's kind of a double-sided coin in a sense, because I think people are starting to use cancel culture as like, oh, that's a weapon that's being used, and oh, I was a victim. I know, Feek, you said something about like bringing down the privilege and bringing them down from that sense of infallibility, but I don't even know if it's effective sometimes, because they use it and they play the victim card.
Oh, bro, I agree completely. I mean, if you want an example for how I said cancel culture isn't real and how we say it is, remember the kid Covington who was yelling in the face of Native Americans in DC back in the day? He spoke at the Republican National Convention last night. This man was given a massive platform based on, this cancellation. And so to what point is it effective?